Okay,
My
right.
God.
Let's get started. Okay, so we've been talking about engineering. We've been talking about criteria. We've been talking about constraints. So I have a question for all of you. Who can tell me what, how, or why an engineer will use criteria and constraints? Why do you think they will use them, or how do you think they use them? Well, let's think about it this way. I give you homework, right? I tell you that this is your homework and this is what I need you to do. And then when you give me your homework, I look at the homework and I say, okay, well, hold on now. Did you do this? Did you do this? So all of these things combine to make up what is your homework overall. The criteria and constraints are the exact same thing. The criteria are the things that help you define what the problem is. Yesterday we spoke about a car. There was a discussion about the criteria for a car. We said it needs to be safe, that it needs to be strong to be able to hold people, and it also needs to be able to move. So we said, right, what do we know that's strong and it's safe and it makes a shell that we can move? We came up with the idea of metal. So metal is strong. It's going to be able to hold and support more than 5 people. It is safe. If you are wearing something metal and I hit you with a hammer, you're not going to be hurt. And it's able to move. You're able to create a shell of metal, add some wheels, and then it can then move. So this is how an engineer will use criteria. Let's take an example of a chair. So let's take a chair, for example. A chair is something that you sit down on, right? So you need a chair to be, 1, something you can sit down on. 2, something that has a strong frame that's going to, when you sit in it, you don't fall through it. Imagine every time you sat on a chair, the chair just broke. That's not very good. So, you know, a chair needs to be strong and it needs to be comfortable. What are you going to do in order to make sure that a chair is 1, strong, and 2, comfortable? What do you decide when you are making a chair that way? What are you going to decide? How are you going to decide how to make the chair? So, Tilly, what do you think you need to do to make sure a chair is strong but comfortable at the same time?
I think it needs to made of material that is strong,
Yeah,
like wood.
yeah, perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. So, when you're creating something or you're building something, you have a list of criteria. First thing you do is you look at the criteria and go, okay, how am I going to make sure that I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things on this list with the criteria that you have? And it's the same with constraints as well. So you know that when you're building something, you know that a constraint of, say, a chair is that I'm going to build a chair and it's going to be able to hold 200 kilos. If someone who is 500 kilos sits on top of my chair, they're going to go straight through the chair. There's your constraint, right? So has anyone gone into an elevator? You have a criteria. The criteria is an elevator needs to bring people from floor 1 to floor 2 to floor 3. But a constraint of the elevator is that it can only bring up 5 people at a time. So that's how an engineer works. It takes what is going to be understood by the criteria to try and make it work, but also knows what the limitations of that particular product are. This is how I want you to keep thinking. I want you to think in lines of, okay, if I'm going to build something, what do I want it to do? What's going to stop it from doing more? And that's how we need to keep thinking, okay? So I'm going to start sharing my screen and have a look at our presentation for today. We've been talking about how all engineering starts with a question. We have one particular question and then we provide a solution to the question. This is what engineering is. Engineering is using scientific principles to solve a problem, to provide a solution to a particular problem. Now, we need to start taking that one step further, okay? So engineers use criteria. Criteria are features, or criterion are features of a desirable solution. So what you want to happen, while constraints are limits that must be met in order to be acceptable. So what we're trying to say is that when you have a criteria, you build something based on the criteria, you create it, and the constraints are things that prevent you from doing it. Now, I want you all to think about birds. This may sound strange, it's a bit of an odd one to say, but when you want to start thinking about birds, what is the exact same thing about every single bird?
It has wings.
It has wings, okay. What else? Hun.
They can fly.
It can fly.
They have beaks.
They have beaks. Okay.
They lay eggs.
They lay
They
eggs.
lay eggs.
Okay. So these are all the same things about birds. Now,
They
Ivan.
can eat.
they can eat.
They doesn't have teeth.
They don't have teeth. They don't have teeth. One thing they all do is they all make noise, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you were to hear 4 or 5 different types of bird, could you tell me which bird is making what sound?
No.
The reason I'm using birds as an example is that there are, I'm pretty sure there's over 10,000 different species of birds, and each one of them sounds different. If it was your job to try and understand which bird makes what particular sound, what are you going to do? You're going to make sure that you do research, right? Research is very, very, very important. So I want to try help you to put that into perspective, to try understand how research can help you in these kind of situations. So what I want you to do is, look here. Imagine that you are in a forest and you're trying to record sounds, but you need to be able to record only non-bird sounds. What constraints do you think you will have, and why? What constraints do you think you have when you're trying to record only non-bird sounds in a forest?
When you get too close to the bird will fly away.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good one. Yeah, birds can fly away. Winter.
I hear a lots of sound in the forest. I can't hear one sound.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. What else? What other constraints do you think you have? Yes, Jesus Christ.
We can't talk to animals.
Yeah, you can't talk to an animal, right? You can't exactly, does it? So these are all constraints that you think you have. What do you think you can do to help you only listen to one sound? How do you think that if you went to a forest and you started recording, how do you think that when you finish recording, you can only find one sound? What can you do? Okay, let's try this. I'm going to unmute you all. And what I want you all to do is make a really, really, really stupid sound, such as blah, 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 blah. I want you all to do it at the exact same time. So, you ready? Thank you all very much. So, that was absolutely ridiculous. Now, when you all made a funny sound, I could hear Baldy go, la, 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 la. I can hear Winter go, la, 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 la. I can hear, yes, you made that sound. I can see you laughing. I know you made that sound. But I can hear individual voices.
But I say
Even worse. That's that's not great.
it's like a chicken.
Yeah, okay. Well, there we go. You're proving my point. Is that you made a sound of a chicken. How do you know what a chicken sounds like? Because you've heard it before, right? You've listened.
Yes.
You've paid attention. You said, okay, so you know what? I know what a chicken sounds like. I'm going to make a chicken sound. I know what a chicken sounds like because I have heard a chicken before. You've done research. You know what it is. An engineer will do the exact same thing. An engineer will say, you know what? Before I go into the forest, before I try to listen to one particular sound, I'm going to find out what that sound actually sounds like. They're going to do research. You do your research before you go into the forest so that when you are trying to find that one particular sound, you know what to listen for. And if I take the question, it's like, what's the constraint of only trying to find non-animal sounds or animal sounds? It's like, well, hold on, I need to know what every sound sounds like first, so that when I listen back, I can say, hold on, no, that's a chicken, that's a duck, so that you say, well, I don't need to listen to this, and you can stop listening to that, and you can find out that one particular sound. And that's how an engineer does their work as well. So look at this guy. Yep. Look at this really, really happy guy with his tiny little satellite dish. What do you think that that guy is doing? What do you think that big dish is for? Yes, Cherry, tell me.
How about like to hear the birds?
Yeah. It's a big listening device, okay? That's a good idea. Yes, Winter, what do you think?
I think the dish is for listening one sound that he want to hear.
Yeah, so look at that picture again, right? So he obviously has a camera. He's got a camera attached to it. He's putting sound into the camera. He's obviously recording something, and he's recording sound at the same time. So this guy has a big camera. He's got a big listening device as well. So what he's trying to do is listen to something and record it at the same time. He's adding sound. He's Look how specific it is. He's trying to isolate one particular sound. The whole point of this is that, move on to research, okay? Research is super important before you're doing anything. So remember when I asked you to think about a project, to enhance, to make a sense of yours better. If I said, okay, let's think about how can I see in the dark? Let's just use that as an example, okay? What animals do you know that can see in the dark? Pumpkin.
A cat can see in the dark.
Yeah, excellent. So, okay, let's take a cat, for example. Cats have specific eyes, okay? So, if you've ever seen a cat eye, it's round, but in the middle of the cat's eye, you have like its pupil. So, a cat's eye is round. Its pupil is like this, right? It's not the same way our pupil is. Our pupils are round. A cat's eye is like this. The reason it's like this is because it allows in more light. So when light goes into an eye, it comes in, creates a mirror image on the back of your eye, which allows you to see. A cat's eye is like this. So actually allows in more light, which brings in more vision to the cat's eye. So when it gets dark, a lot of light shines on a human eye. The pupil goes to this. It gets smaller. The pupil is like a window and lets in a specific amount of sunlight. When it gets dark, your pupil gets bigger. Why do you think your pupil gets bigger when it's dark? If you take a cat, for example, a cat can see very well at night because its pupil can get a lot bigger than ours. It can take in more light. And there's a reason. If you were to do research on to why a cat can see better at night than we can, that is somewhere you would start. You say, oh, hold on now. A cat's eyes allow it to see better in dark. If I'm going to create a machine, I'm going to use a cat as an example. I'm going to do research about cat's eyes, which are going to allow me to make a better machine. Has anyone driven late at night, particularly on a motorway, especially here in Vietnam? Have you seen that when you shine a light onto the road, there's like little eyes on the side of the road that light up, that show you exactly where the road is? Has anyone seen that? Hun, have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, they are called cat's eyes. The name of them is called cat's eyes. Basically, when light shines on them, it reflects off and it shows light. A cat's eyes work the exact same way. So whoever the engineer for that was turned around and said, you know what's a really good idea? Cats have reflective eyes. I'm going to use a cat as an example. Now, he did not kill a cat, and he did not put a cat in the road, and he did not shine lights into the cat's eyes, but he said, okay, I know a cat's eyes can reflect light. I can take in more light. There's a really good way for me to design a product which is going to allow people to see in the dark. So research is key. It's taking a step from the animal world and saying, you know what, maybe I can use that in order to build a machine which would be good for the human world. Can anyone else think of any examples of anything that was designed around something an animal's ability, something that an animal can do that we can't do, that we use? You can think of any examples. Jesus Christ, thank you.
A bat has a good hearing using echolocation.
Yes, so
Echolocation.
So do humans use echolocation?
No,
Do we?
a little bit.
Yeah, radar. Radar is echolocation. Anyone else? Winter, what do you think?
I think that the bat using the eye to see in the dark.
Yeah, common misconception, bats actually can see quite well. Echolocation and radar is a really good one. If you think about sense of smell, we use dogs to help us when we are looking for people buried by earthquakes. We are now using... Yeah, a friend of mine actually sent me a very interesting article the other day about grasshoppers being used to detect bombs. That's pretty fun. Yeah, that's an ingenious way to use an animal ability. Grasshoppers can smell out bombs. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so that's a fox, that's a deer. This strange animal is called an eye, and that's a rabbit. What do you see that's the same with those four animals? Or what do you think is the same with those 4 animals? Yes, Cherry.
Is it the eyes?
Their eyes? Okay. Yeah, they all have eyes, but I'm going to give you a hint, right? They all have amazing hearing. Those 4 animals have some of the best hearing in the animal kingdom. So you take the fox. Look at the fox's ears. They have a specific shape. They're shaped in a specific way that they can hear things really well. Look at the deer. The deer, once again, they've got ears which can move around. They can hear 360 degrees. And Ai's ears, they look like cups, right? And Ai has a really long middle finger where it taps on wood. And its hearing is so good that it can actually hear if there are grubs or animals inside the wood which it can then eat. And the rabbit has very, very long has very, very long ears in order to help it hear predators, in order to help it run away.
Oh my gosh, it has earrings.
It does earrings, yeah. So why do you think they all have really, really good hearing? What do you think the purpose of all of those animals having good hearing is? Let's take the fox. Why do you think a fox has good hearing? Jesus Christ. Billy, you need to take
It is
it, Billy. Because I can't keep calling you Jesus Christ.
okay.
It's fine.
So it is easier for the fox to find its prey.
Yeah, to find its prey. Very good. Okay, everyone. I will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.